All right, well, welcome to Skate Wars 2024 streaming coverage of the first game of Saturday's contests. It's going to be Team Flower Power representing Canadian British Columbia, Saskatchewan, and Alberta taking on Team Indigenous Rising. This will be the first game on track number 3 of the Jedi bracket. How did the teams get here, you might ask? Well, tough loss yesterday from both teams, essentially. Team Indigenous Rising won their first game versus Alaska, came up against Michigan in the Jedi bracket, and were vanquished by the Michigan All-Stars, and so Indigenous Rising will be playing Team Flower Power, who likewise won their first game of the day versus Maryland. They took on the New York All-Stars. New York were able to get that victory, so now both teams will be playing for ranking, essentially. Not of course, WFTDA ranking, but ranking within the tournament structure of Skate Wars. Because once you get an L, you're out of the running for the championship. However, the teams will end up being ranked at the end of the tournament, and there's still something to play for in that. You know, we all love to play the sport of roller derby, but beyond that, there's an opportunity to emerge from the tournament at a higher rank than what you came in with. So, with that in mind, our tournament committee had ranked Flower Power number 11 in pre pre-tournament prognostications, if you will. And Team Indigenous Rising was ranked number 19. Take that for what you will. We're almost ready to go. So we will be bringing you this action. Team Flower Power in the black uniforms with the multicolored accents, blue uniforms, black bottoms, and white numbers for Team Indigenous Rising. We're almost ready to get started. The uh, many, many volunteers putting this tournament together have been as punctual as humanly possible. This game was scheduled to start at 10:15, and it would appear that we're going to be pretty close to accuracy on that. So, I'll go over the rosters as we're ready to take off for Flower Power. Joe Means Joe, Chris My Ass, Cakes, Willow Wisp, Shelly Al, Labaddy, R.I.P., Easy Break Oven, Isa Hot Broad, Punchy, Buns, Mac Daddy, Terrorizer, Sriracha, Bam, Betty Davis Eyes, Emsky Hammer, and Reign of Terror. We'll get to Team Indigenous Rising in just a second. We have action underway. It's Chris My Ass for Indigenous Rising taking on Joe Means Joe. And Chris My Ass, representing Calgary Roller Derby, is lead jammer. Joe Means Joe does escape the pack. Team Indigenous Rising losing a blocker to the penalty box. 4 points awarded, and the jam was called by Chris My Ass. We'll be starting Indigenous Rising jamming against Easy Break Oven for Team Flower Power, and Easy Break Oven shoots through in less than 10 seconds. Easy Break Oven now joined by Mush It Real Good, but joined in in a more figurative sense as Much It Real Good now engaging the pack for points. Easy Break Oven elects to run the jam now, and a relatively unhindered scoring trip results in 4 additional Flower Power points. Much It Real Good getting dropped to the knees. Meanwhile, wow, Easy Break Oven, despite the early hours, showing complete control of every single limb. Hurdling through the pack, 12-4 advantage on the jam. Much It Real Good will now cut into that. Meanwhile, Easy Break Oven adds 4 more. Calls the jam 16-8 on the jam. 16-12 will be your score. Jam 3 to start in just a couple of seconds, 10 to be exact. Okay, here we go. Speed Cat jamming for Team Indigenous Rising. Wow. Smack at you. We are burrowing through first for Team in the pivot position for Team Indigenous Rising, making room for Speed Cat. Reign of Terror is now out of the pack on the initial trip for Flower Power. And yeah, Speed Cat takes the better part of Valor, calls the jam, gets 2 more on that second scoring trip. So 6-0 on the jam for Team Indigenous Rising. And in the early going, it is a 2-point Team Indigenous Rising lead. Next up, we have Labadie for Team Flower Power. Indigenous Rising will send T-Rexorcist. And it's Labadie called for a forearm. Power jam now for Team Indigenous Rising. Bam with a crucial takedown of T-Rexorcist, but T-Rexorcist able to recover quickly. Lead jammer, power jam. Team Indigenous Rising 3-on-2 in the pack right now. West has rejoined the pack for Flower Power out of the penalty box. So now it is 3-on-3 at least. But T-Rexorcist likes the smaller pack. Completes a scoring trip. Labadie now out of the penalty box and dealt with perfunctorily by Jess Gosen. Jess Gosen says, try again, Labadie. Now Team Indigenous Rising solidifies at the back of the pack, and T-Rexorcist with no real threat is free to work on the pack and does put up 4 more. Labadie now finally completing the initial pass after almost 90 seconds of jam time. T-Rexorcist working on potentially a 16-point jam, and it would appear that's exactly what we have. First big explosion of this game, and it goes to Team Indigenous Rising. 33-16 is your score. All right, it's going to be a 4-3 pack advantage in favor of Team Indigenous dynamic pack right now as the Flower Power Jammer is sent to the penalty box. Goose has been awarded lead. Daddy sitting down, unable to assist Team Flower Power as the Power Jam is underway for Team Indigenous Rising. Emsky Hammer at the front of the pack, trying to kill as much time as possible. Betty Davis Eyes gets a little bit of a shot in. Goose goes on undeterred. Has four, looking for additional points. McDaddy now out of the penalty box, but being contained at the back of the pack. Team Indigenous Rising has owned the back of the pack right now, and McDaddy is only now getting through. Another 90 seconds to get through the pack, and that might be a dismaying streak for Team Flower Power. I would expect perhaps a timeout, and that's exactly what we're seeing right now as Captain for Flower Power requesting a timeout. The timeout is granted. So that gives us the opportunity to run down the Team Indigenous Rising roster. We have the aforementioned Smackajawea, Beast Mode, Kellarella Wabunsi, Tater, Chris Myas, Speed Cat, Hawaiian Blaze, T-Rexorcist, Mush It Real Good, Daryl, Just Business, Just Gosin, Cherry Von Sin, Fuzzkill, Ashtray, Tornado Alley, Ridiculous, Skates in Circles, Bams, Parma, Goose, and Small Fry. Of course, Team Indigenous Rising, coached by Crispy Nikita. Flower Power, coached by Sour Cherry. Jammers embracing on the start line. We always appreciate the special bond of sportspersonship that roller derby provides. Here we go. Jam 6 has begun. We have Chris Myas versus Joe Means Joe. Joe Means Joe, of course, skating for Flower Power. Chris Myas running to the front. Indigenous Rising with a 42-16 lead, and the opportunity to expand upon that advantage as Joe Means Joe caught in the back, perhaps sent to the penalty box, indeed sent to the penalty box, and now standing to remove the star, but Chris Myas will now be awarded 4 points. Joe Means Joe returns from the 30-second stint. Chris Myas gets 4 more calls to jam, so sometimes the best laid plans fall to ignominious, perhaps, non-success. And that would appear to be what happened there for Team Flower Power after the timeout. All right, Easy Break Oven is ready to jam now for Flower Power. Easy Break Oven with the lone extremely successful jam for Team Flower Power, and it looks like Easy Break Oven wants to continue that trend. However, Mush It Real Good is sprung from the back by, among others, Smackajawea, along with Ashtray, And boy, Mush It Real Good is now scoring points at an alarming rate. If you're a fan for Team Flower Power, Easy Break Oven caught at the back of the pack again, which seems to be a familiar place to the Flower Power Jammers right now. Indigenous Rising might need to watch the penalties back there as another blocker is sent to the box. That's Karma. Easy Break Oven completes the initial trip. Mush It Real Good looks over to the bench, is instructed to run the jam undoubtedly to try to get a couple of those blockers back on the track. Easy Break Oven is on a scoring trip, but again, I would have to say the advantage that Team Indigenous Rising has shown controlling the back of the pack has really made all the difference so far in this game. A late 4 points going up to Easy Break Oven of Team Flower Power. That'll take them to 20, but 16 more on the jam for Team Indigenous Rising. So 66 to 20 as we get ready to enter jam number 8. Speed Cat, speedy indeed, less than 4 seconds to get out of that pack. Relatively quick escape for Reign of Terror as well. Meanwhile, Speed Cat immediately on a scoring trip. Reign of Terror, this time is able to take the inside track to pay dirt, getting around Team Indigenous Rising's normal formation at the back of the pack. But 8-4 on the jam in favor of Team Indigenous Rising, who are able to extend their lead to 50 right now as we have played a little less than 13 minutes. Here we go. Team Indigenous Rising sending T-Rexorcist, and T-Rexorcist again is lead jammer. Labadie for Flower Power is closing quickly. Labadie met in the back of the pack again. That's just business, taking the outside. Inside locked down momentarily by Karma. However, Labadie able to get out. Both jammers with 4, and T-Rexers just waiting to call the jam until Labadie reached the pack, and it looks like calling the jam just in time. 0 going up for Flower Power, so just business, taking care of business on that outside line. A little double punishment on that last jam, really, because waiting to call and then almost taunting the Flower Power jammer. Oh, speaking of Flower Power jammers, that's an immediate escape for Mac Daddy. Getting out less than 5 seconds. Goose is jamming for Team Indigenous Rising. Mac Daddy now into the pack. 4 points. And will run the jam again. Goose through as well, presumably for 4. And indeed, that's what it is. So 4-4. Oh, Mac Daddy finding a seam in the defense on the infield. call off, and first team Flower Power positive jam and a couple, 8-6 on the jam, 36 for Flower Power, 84. All right, here we go, jam 11. Easy break oven with the star for Flower Power, looking to reverse the fortunes of the team. Ooh, Emsky Hammer almost offering assistance to Chris Myas of Indigenous Rising. Chris Myas is lead jammer. Some inadvertent contact as Chris Myas was getting through the pack. Chris Myas with the immediate call off, and we have a 2-1 jam. Chris Myas getting the call just in time as Easy Break Oven was approaching the pack at high speed. But the 2-1 counts a win for Team Indigenous Rising. And much real good jamming for Team Indigenous Rising. Reign of Terror for Flower Power. Reign of Terror handled for the moment. Much real good is lead, but we have a jammer race right now. And that will cause a early call off by Mush It Real Good, respecting the talents, no doubt, of Reign of Terror and not taking any chances with this early lead that Team Indigenous Rising have so craftily assembled. This is the kind of lead that could either, they could either add to, maintain, or lose. And Team Firepower wants the third option, and they're sending Speed Cats to the line, and not a bad choice. Excuse me, this is Labadie. Scoreboard had it wrong. Labadie jamming for Team Flower Power. Speed Cat for Indigenous Rising, and Speed Cat, my bad. That's going to be 4 for Indigenous Rising, so that's an unfortunate situation for Team Flower Power, getting the lead, but ending up with a 4-4 jam. So somewhat of a stalemate thanks to the rapidity of Speed Cat. All right, we got a T-Rexorcist ready to jam for Team Indigenous Rising. Mac Daddy for Team Flower Power. Mac Daddy with the early advantage. But T-Rexorcist with the lead, and Mac Daddy sent to the penalty box. Missed the call, but I would almost assuredly think it was either a forearm or a blocking with the head. This is a scoring trip now for T-Rexorcist. Here comes the Team Indigenous Rising offense. It's well coordinated, perhaps by skates and circles, along with Hawaiian Blaze and Tornado Alley, but they certainly made an easy path for T-Rexorcist. All right, Mac Daddy's out of the penalty box through the back. T-Rexorcist has completed one scoring trip and half of another, so 2 additional points going up. It'll be a 6-0 jam in favor of Team Indigenous Rising. And bears repeating that as these teams entered the tournament, Team Indigenous Rising was ranked at number 19 Team Flower Power was ranked at number 11. So as things currently stand, Team Indigenous Rising certainly stands to rise in the ratings of the tournament before the end of the outcome, or excuse me, the end of the weekend. Goose quickly awarded lead jammer Joey Joe out of the pack for Flower Power. Goose bumped to the inside, has to regroup. Gives Joe the opportunity to catch up, essentially. Who's at the back of the pack? Oh, smack at Joey. Oh, that was, I think this jam, as much as anything, shows the fortitude of the backpack defense that Team Indigenous Rising has employed throughout this jam. Could be a opportunity for Flower Power, however, as we have Goose sent to the penalty box. It's a power jam for Joe Means Joe. Penalty killing seems to be a forte of Karma, who though has to let Joe Means Joe finally get through the pack for 4 points. So currently, Team Flower Power leading in this jam. Oh, Joe Means Joe with a little benefiting from a little trickery from Punchy. Does make it through the pack for 4 more. Flower Power currently on 8. We've got, oh no, another penalty now going against Goose. And it's been immediately rescinded, so this confusion is real, folks. 4 points awarded to Goose on the jam itself. 1 additional point for Team Flower Power, so that will take Indigenous Rising precisely to 100 and Flower Power precisely to 50. Make of that what you will. 7:10 to go in this first period of play. All right, here we go. Easy break, oven. A timely jammer choice for Flower Power. Immediately awarded lead jammer. And an immediate call off. Well, the jam was stopped, and I must confess I do not know why. We are back to gameplay now. 1 point was awarded to Easy Break Up, and curiously not electing to run the jam. Watch it real good. Jamming now. Jam 17, Reign of Terror for Flower Power. Watch it real good. Has been awarded the lead. Watch it real good. And MC Hammer engaged in combat, or just the legal side of it. Watch it real good. Finally prevailing. 4 points. One of the first star passes of the game now. I believe this is MC Hammer, who's wrestled out of bounds by Karma. Yeah, we've got a power jam in favor of Team Flower Power, and a forearm was assessed to mush it real good. Of course, the power jam is only good if you can get the jammer out of the pack. Indigenous Rising defense has killed this penalty about as well as can be done. Hawaiian Blaze involved, of course, the aforementioned Jess Ghosten, and so well done. And of course, Karma, I guess you could make a pun and say that Karma is at the root of all things, but certainly in this Indigenous Rising defense, Karma has been the provider of not only defense but I think organization. Very, very effective skater out there for Team Indigenous Rising. Okay, so the jam is concluded. Both teams will have a jammer on the track to start this next jam. We have a timeout on the track. It's an official timeout for stopwatch maintenance. Track maintenance being done as well. Track crew has been essential throughout the weekend. Certainly glad to see hardworking volunteers at each track. Certainly appreciated. And as we resume play, Speedcat provides an injection of, indeed, speed. Getting out of the pack quickly. Getting bumped by Joe Means Joe, but recovering quickly. A quick 4 points for Speedcat. Meanwhile, Mac Daddy can only sit and watch from the penalty box. Now standing. Speedcat quickly with 8. Boy, Speedcat just in complete control. Seems to feel those boundary lines almost intuitively. Those track raised boundary lines of the inner track, just it's almost like Speed Cat is magnetized to the track to the extent that almost never goes out of bounds. It's really, well, this time, however, with a solid hit from the pivot, I believe that's Joe Means Joe, and Joe means no in that case. That will pull the plug on the jam, but it's a 16-0 jam in favor of Team Indigenous Rising. We're back to a 2-minute and 10-second remaining time of gameplay. Mac Daddy still in the penalty box. Team Indigenous Rising's going to send T-Rexorcist to the jam line. T-Rexorcist can make it through. On her own, and indeed does. Scoring trip now as Mac Daddy still seated in that Happy Coffee penalty box. The seat of the unfortunate Flower Power Jammer now finally standing, and I tell you what, adding insult to injury, from the Flower Power side. We're going to have a call off by T-Rexorcist. So it is yet another Power Jam start in favor of Team Indigenous Rising, who would appear to want to put this game away and one period of play. I suppose one can't blame Team Indigenous Rising for that type of strategy. After all, we're here to win the games. Currently a 76-point lead. Flower Power on 51, Team Indigenous Rising on 127. Team Indigenous Rising currently employing their official review. We'll have more of the official review as far as what's being requested once the officiating crew comes over to the announcers' tables and provides us with that information. Again, Team Indigenous Rising certainly in a position of strength right now. Flower Power with their pivot and Jammer currently in the penalty box. Pivot standing, or excuse me, Jammer is standing in the box. Pivot still seated. So we will find out in just a second what the result of the official review is and what the subject was. And Jumping Spider from our house announcer crew is going to run over and see what, in fact, has been decided. I'm going to wait to hear. Meanwhile, a Power Jam start for Team Indigenous Rising. They send Goose to the line. 54 seconds left on the period clock. Mac Daddy is released from the penalty box. Multiplayer being assessed to Ashtray for Team Indigenous Rising. And Mac Daddy out of the penalty box into the lead jammer position. So Flower Power looking to end the first period on a high note. Mac Daddy's going to take what Mac Daddy can get, and that would be 3. So 3-0. Still have time, perhaps, for one more jam if either team elects to stop play. Otherwise, the period clock is going to wind down to 0. Not seeing any gestures. Oh, no, Flower Power says, no, we want one more jam. Going to see whether they're going to be awarded the timeout in time. It would appear that they are. Team Flower Power using a timeout to get that one last jam. And without any indication to the contrary, we will have one more jam. Wait to see how much period clock time is left. However, that may, I don't know that Team Flower Power were able to call timeout in time, as after the officials are conferring, we're already into intermission. So there you go, a 3-0 jam in favor. Well, here we are on track 3 of Skate Wars 2024 as Team Indigenous Rising look to expand upon a 73-point lead in this game versus Flower Power. It bears repeating, and please allow me to share the below land acknowledgement. This tournament is being held on the unceded lands of Indigenous peoples. Lansing, Michigan occupies the ancestral, traditional, and contemporary lands ceded in the 1819 Treaty of Saginaw belonging to the Anishinaabe Three Fires Confederacy of Ojibwa, Odawa, and Potawatomi peoples. We thank the descendants of these tribes. We thank the descendants of these tribes for being the original stewards and protectors of these lands. Well, the first period certainly showed the strength of Team Indigenous Rising. Flower Power had their moments, but as I probably said perhaps ad nauseum, the difference really in the first period of play was how Team Indigenous Rising were able to control the back of the pack and really contain jammers, with the one exception of Easy Break Oven, who currently has the star for Flower Power and will get out and is the first lead of the second period. Got Chris Bias jamming for Team Indigenous Rising, only now getting out of the pack. But you see now, Easy Break Oven has to once again engage with the back of that pack, and that is simply not an appealing prospect for opposing jammers. Easy Break Oven essentially forced to take 2 points and call the jam. So, yeah, it's watching at home, if you want to develop an identity with respect to your style of gameplay, I think you could do a lot worse than how these Team Indigenous blockers set up their defensive structure. They occasionally will allow a jammer through on an initial pass, as they're doing again for Mac Daddy. Mush It Real Good is jamming for Indigenous Rising. However, when the jammer comes back through for that, well, of course, the curse of the commentator this time, Mac Daddy able to get around Hawaiian Blaze, and that's going to, excuse me, somebody's interrupting my view. Mac Daddy now on a second scoring trip. Four more going up, that for Team Indigenous Rising. So, Flower Power not out of this game. We've certainly seen it before where one team will dominate in a first period of play and the next will dominate in the second. So, we'll wait to see how that shakes out. Currently, it's a 4-3 pack advantage in favor of Team Indigenous Rising. However, blocker for Flower Power is standing. Now our first lead jam of the second period for Team Indigenous Rising goes to T-Rexorcist. Labadee or Labaddy is jamming for Team Flower Power. T-Rexorcist with that steady, powerful stride quick 4 points. Lombati now through, but T-Rexorcist already on a second scoring trip. Looks to the bench, perhaps will run, and yes, that is the indication. And Team Indigenous Rising will lose a blocker to the penalty box as the, T-Rexorcist will call the jam after another scoring trip. So 10-4 on the jam in favor of Team Indigenous Rising. Taking that to 141 and Flower Power on 67. Team Indigenous Rising now requesting an official review. Hopefully we'll get some indication of what that is. Okay, well, I've been informed that Team Indigenous Rising is filming a documentary during the weekend here, which is an exciting prospect, no doubt. And as a added piece of information, we announcers are perhaps going to be involved as well, and that's what was occurring right there as the audio was cut off momentarily, is that the announcers will be able to either assent or consent or not to allowing their likeness and voices to be used during the documentary if the producers so choose. Gonna wait and get an indication about the official review. Okay, Team Indigenous Rising had asked that a forearm penalty against Daryl in the previous jam be rescinded, and upon review, the officiating crew refused to do so. So Team Indigenous Rising will lose their official review. They still do have all 3 timeouts, however, and here we go. Jam 4 underway. It's Goose versus Easy Break Oven for their respective teams. Goose getting perilously close to the front of the pack. Meanwhile, defense for Indigenous Rising doing a good job holding off Easy Break Oven at the back of the pack again. This pack getting extremely spread out now, begins to contain itself a little more. Daryl rocketing ahead of Easy Break Oven to join that fearsome trio. But Easy Break Oven able to finally get through. It took almost 50 seconds. Lead jammer is Easy Break Oven. reward. Easy break up, gets to deal with that defense again. Does manage to get through. Good offensive blocking. Made the second trip through the pack easier than the first for Easy Break Oven. So, Team Flower Power making some progress. 73 to 141 in the early going of the second period. And there we go. Chris Bias is out first for Team Indigenous Rising. Joe Means Joe, however, through as well. And unlike the past couple of jams that were more of a grind fest, this is a high-speed affair. Chris Bias gets through first. All four. So does Joe Means Joe. Suppose you could take a number of strategic philosophies right now at this point in the game. If you're coaching Team Indigenous Rising, you want to run as much clock as possible, just get the win and move on. So that's going to be 5-5 apiece on the jam, and running a lot of time as well. On the other hand, if you're coaching Team Flower Power, you're going to want to try and get those hit and quit opportunities. And, unless you have a clear advantage or a power jam, running the jam's probably not something that you want to do. Labadie with the star for Team Flower Power. Mush it real good. Out and lead for Team Indigenous Rising. All right, first 4 points going to Mush It Real Good. Labadie still caught in the clenches of Karma and Friends at the back of the pack. Boy, Labadie twisted into almost a balletic pose until Sriracha comes up and opens the offense. Oh, sweet move there by Mush It Real Good to get an additional 4 before calling off the jam. And it's a 12-0 for Team Indigenous Rising, who now have extended their lead to 80 over Team Flower Power with a little over 20 minutes to go. Here we go. We got Rain of Terror jamming for Team Flower Power and T-Rexorcist for Team Indigenous Rising. T-Rexorcist is lead jammer, getting around Betty Davis' eyes, followed quickly by Rain of Terror. And T-Rexorcist allows Rain of Terror to get the first 4 points of the jam. T-Rexorcist now gets the 4 to equalize and calls off. Again, from the perspective of Team Indigenous Rising, score's important, but time is important too. We've seen bursts of power for this Flower Power team. Kind of intentional pun, but they're dangerous, and you don't want to give them too many opportunities. Speaking of which, here we go. That's Mac Daddy, first lead jammer. Goose out for Team Indigenous Rising. All right, Mac Daddy now getting some support from Emsky Hammer. 4 points. Goose now with, oh, a masterful corridor cleared out by, among others, Tornado Alley. Along with Jess Business and Hawaiian Blaze. A pack that seems to really enjoy each other along with Smackajawea. So that's a 4-4 jam. Again, you don't want to overstate it, but if your team Indigenous Rising right now, you're happy to split the points as long as the clock continues to roll. Now we've got Chris Myas jamming for Team Indigenous Rising, taking on Easy Break Oven, lead jammer going to Chris Myas. Easy Break Oven called for a high block, so it's a power jam. This is exactly what Flower Power did not want. Quick 4 for Chris Myas. Now you get the best of both worlds if you're a fan of Team Indigenous Rising, where the clock runs and you're the only team scoring. So not only do you take time off the clock, but you also add to the point differential. A scenario you do not want to see if you're a Flower Power supporter. Flower Power with just 2 blockers on the track right now. Chris Myas currently with 12 points in the jam, looking for another scoring trip, and it would appear to be successful. Yes, 4 more. If my memory serves properly, which oftentimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, there's not been an initial trip completed yet by Flower Power. That indeed is the case. Flower Power passing the star to Betty Davis Eyes, and it will be for naught, perhaps not for naught, as it did induce the call off, but meanwhile, that was a trifecta of success for Team Indigenous Rising, 20-0. Now the lead almost 100, too shy of 100. It's a 98-point lead for Team Indigenous Rising, who send Mush It Real Good to the line, and both jammers out quickly, but Mush It Real Good is lead. Labadie in pursuit. Mush It Real Good gonna call, might sacrifice a point or 2, but does not, in fact. Saw something that perhaps wasn't evident from this angle of the announcer table. Did get 2 points, 0 for Team Flower Power, which poetically does take Team Indigenous Rising to that 100-point lead with 16 minutes and some change to go. Both jammers through. T-Rexorcist is lead. T-Rexorcist looking to the bench. The call goes out. We're going to have a fast-paced jam, and we're going to run some clock. Oh, big hit. They're dealt out on Reign of Terror. Again, with that 100-point lead running the clock, certainly a defensible position if you're a supporter of Team Indigenous Rising. And T-Rexorcist taking time, but getting 4 points. 0 awarded as of yet to Reign of Terror. This is a power jam. T-Rexorcist will call 4 more. Yeah, and the woes cascade upon Flower Power right now, unfortunately. Reign of Terror can only watch in the penalty box, seated, as the jam is called. Indigenous Rising sending Goose to the jam line. Cold Comfort that 4 points were given to Reign of Terror at the end of the jam. Still an 8-4 advantage for Team Indigenous Rising. Now Goose is through. Goose gets lead. Reign of Terror with the energy that is given by that Happy Coffee penalty box does get out of the pack, but Goose gets 4 calls to the jam. So Indigenous Rising continue to gradually build that lead. If you'll remember, it was approximately 72 at the period, 73 perhaps, and now it is over 100, 108 to be exact. So with 13:48 to go, Flower Power is employing an official review. Could be argued as perhaps their last opportunity to start meaningfully closing this gap. We shall see. Again, both teams unfortunately taking a difficult loss in the Galactica, in the Jedi bracket here at Skate Wars 2024. Flower Power taking the early win in the first game of the tournament versus Maryland. Flower Power then had a few hours to rest up before they took on the number 5 seed New York All-Stars. New York did prevail. Then, Team Indigenous Rising had to play Team Alaska at 9:30 yesterday morning. They were successful. Moved on to play Team Michigan. Michigan taking the win in that one. So it bears repeating, though, that as the teams were ranked coming into this event, Flower Power actually had were ranked number 11. Team Indigenous Rising were ranked number 19. So by all indications, with this result, it's going to have significant impact on their respective rankings following the game, or at least at the end of the weekend. Certainly should push Team Indigenous Rising up in the rankings, and it might unfortunately move Team Flower Power down at least 1 or 2 notches. We'll wait and see. We have the house announcer crew checking on the official review right now. Okay. The word on the street is the Team Flower Power were asking for a back block to be assessed on Goose on that last jam. After further review, the initial no call stands, and so the official review will not be retained. We got Mac Daddy jamming against Chris My Ass right now. Well, excuse me, I believe it's Reign of Terror. My bad. No, it is Mac Daddy indeed, but Mac Daddy sent to that penalty box, so another power jam in favor of Team Indigenous Rising. Chris Myas called for cutting the track. Stepped over line, that much was apparent in a somewhat interesting exchange with the outside pack referee. Almost appeared to ask permission to proceed. The outside pack referee remained stone-faced, as is their proclivity. And you got to figure it out for yourself sometimes. And one could argue that the Indigenous Rising Jammer chose incorrectly. In any event, Mac Daddy is out. Mac Daddy has completed an initial scoring, or a first scoring trip. So that's 4 points to the good for Team Flower Power. Power Jam is over, and 4 points are awarded to Chris Myas. Star pass now going to Betty Davis. Eyes for Flower Power, perhaps giving a different look to this defensive formation of Team Indigenous Rising. And quick end of play right now. 3 points awarded at the end to Chris Myas, and 8 going up to the collection of jammers, the Jammer Collective for Flower Power. So, 207 to 100. That's the score. Team Indigenous Rising now has to contend with Easy Break Oven. And Easy Break Oven is determined, is indeed lead jammer. Easy Break Oven taking the airborne route around that vaunted Indigenous Rising defense. Nets 4 points. Mush it real good on a first scoring trip. Matches those 4 points. Now Easy Break Oven meets the difficult defense of Team Indigenous Rising. Calls off the jam after getting 3 points to the good. So 7-4 on the jam in favor of Team Flower Power. We're down now to 10 minutes, 15 seconds on the period clock. We have an official review being called right now by the penalty crew, making sure that everything is properly tabulated and assessed. Track 3 streaming brought to you by Roller Bones. Okay, we're back to live action, and we've got T-Rexorcist. Lead jam is awarded. Quick 4 points for T-Rexorcist. Star being passed now to Joe Means Joe on Team Flower Power. T-Rexorcist calmly surveying the scene as Joe Means Joe is called for cutting the track, and that is an ignominious situation indeed. Karma sent to the penalty box. Rare trip for the Team Indigenous Rise pivot. T-Rexorcist going to run a little clock and now call the jam with an additional 4. So that's an 8-0 jam in favor of Team Indigenous Rising, and they will begin with a power jam start. I'm going to confer with the house team for just a moment. Be right back with you. All right, we're back to the action now. Joe Means Joe has been released from the penalty box. Goose's lead, however, and Goose working on a scoring trip. The 4 points are awarded, and Goose, as one might expect, calls the jam immediately. All right, we're getting ready to go on jam number 17. Team Indigenous Rising have done exactly what they needed to do in the second period. They worked tirelessly to maintain that lead and actually even expand upon it. Here we go now. Speed Cat, a nice weapon to have if you're coaching Team Indigenous Rising. Gets out and gets lead. Reign of Terror, meanwhile, can only stand and watch from the back. Reign of Terror got through, but Speed Cat calls it at 4-0. And from here on in, I would have to presume that both teams will essentially be playing for the love of the game, because with 6 minutes and 30 seconds to go, you may not always hear a announcer say this, but I would have to guess this is not anyone's game. I think the game is firmly within the grasp of Team Indigenous Rising. However, Easy Break Oven is on the track, and I suppose if you are a supporter of Team Flower Power, you have to believe in the power of Easy Break Oven. We've seen Easy Break Oven run some big jams. Mush it real good. Able to use that lead jammer position effectively, though. Stop the damage at 4-0 in favor of Team Flower Power. 1 point is awarded to Team Indigenous Rising. Labadie now ready to jam for Flower Power. T-Rexorcist for Team Indigenous Rising. An empty penalty box as we start jam number 19. Flower Power losing a blocker to the penalty box. Lead quickly awarded. Labadie is able to make it through. T-Rexorcist going to call off the jam with a 2 points. 3 going up for Labadie. So another, you got to call it a win at this point. Like I said before, most likely the teams are playing for the love of the game with the overall result somewhat in hand. But each jam is its own game. Each jam is its own, very complicated and beautiful ballet of various positions and reactions and actions, if that makes any sense. So, yeah, we have a brief official timeout on the track with 4:23 to go. Jammers anxious to ply their craft. Goose for Indigenous Rising and Reign of Terror for Team Flower Power. Play resumes. Goose again versus Reign of Terror. The outside is locked down. Oh, Goose has to sit down. A rare jammer penalty. Oh, we're going to have a 2-minute jam as Reign of Terror elected not to go back and complete the first initial trip cleanly. Reign of Terror now, that's two trips through the pack that are featuring unearned passes. That's a rare event in this thing of ours, but you did in fact see it. Reign of Terror got out first, wasn't lead, and then got through on an initial scoring trip and only got 3 points. So, how about that? You can say you saw it here on Saturday, September 7th, 2024. At Skate Wars 2024. All right, now neither jammer can stop the action, and considering that not a lot of scoring is going on, that is certainly to the benefit of Team Indigenous Rising. They will happily watch 28 more seconds click off the period clock, as nobody can stop this jam unless, of course, the officials choose to, for you know the reasons. None of the contestants can stop the jam. That certainly is true. And that's just an initial trip finally completed for Goose. But Reign of Terror, despite having a 2 minutes to do it, only able to amass 7 points for Flower Power. So now we're getting down to under 2 minutes on the period clock. It's a power jam start now. Reign of Terror was in the penalty box. Lead jam going to Chris Bias, and unless Reign of Terror can score 108 unanswered points, well, Chris Bias wouldn't have to call the jam, but Chris Bias elects to do that, most likely wanting another more positive-looking jam to end the game on. Clock continues to tick off. Period time. Team Indigenous Rising with that 109-point lead. Easy break oven, a tall order. If anyone could erase a 109-point lead, I would say perhaps it would be Easy Break Oven, but Mush It Real Good has lead, so that that diminishes the chances of a 109-point jam occurring in this particular contest. The first 4 go up. Oh, ouch. Oh, ouch. If you're a supporter of Flower Power, that's just one more indignity to have to suffer. forearm penalty going against Easy Break Oven. Period clock now at 10 seconds, and one would think Mush It Real Good would be cognizant of that as well. She doesn't appear to be adding a lot of verve to those final steps. Maybe wants 4 more points. And does that indeed. Calls the jam. That'll be the game. Team Indigenous rising with an impressive showing in this particular contest against Team Flower Power. Again, Flower Power came into this game, or at least into this tournament, ranked number 11. Team Indigenous rising, ranked as number 19. So, amazingly enough, or not, perhaps not amazingly, if you're a supporter of Team Indigenous rising, a solid win, a solid performance all the way around. A well-played game by Team Flower Power, but nonetheless, Team Indigenous rising, taking 242 to 124 Belgium score of sorts. Win. Stay tuned for track 3 action.